Hey folks, Jimmy here, aka Palette of the Dead. Welcome back to the channel and welcome to the latest issue of Warhammer Age of Sigmar Stormbringer magazine. Now, as per usual with all these videos, if you like them, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and of course, drop me a comment down below. I love hearing back from you guys. It goes a massive way to helping out the channel too. Now, this week we're on issue 44 of Stormbringer magazine, and it's not the best Christmas present. It's a paint issue. So it is what it is. 2 pots of paint, and we do get a brush. First off, the paints though. First off, we get Bala Brown. Bala Brown, I use very little of it. We've had it before in the other magazines. Yeah. Whether I will use it now, who knows. But in all honesty, this is close to Hobgrot Hide. So if you wanted to paint your Hobgrots a different colour other than green, this is actually the colour they probably should have provided us with earlier on to make them stand out, because it's better than green Hobgrots, in all honesty. Then the other paint we have is a contrast paint. We have Skeleton Horde. I do use this a fair bit. I have a pot already open that's less than a quarter of the way through, and I've used it on a lot of bones and ivory looking colours and stuff like that. Very, very good. It's like Seraphim Sepia, but only obviously a thicker paint because it's a contrast, but really, really good. Very, very good for utilising and using on things like skulls, kind of anything that's meant to resemble a bone or bones or anything like that works friggin' wonders on. So really, really good stuff there. And then we have a paintbrush. So we get a small layer brush. This, in all honesty, is pretty decent. They're very good for getting into those little nooks and crannies. It's a synthetic brush, which, I don't know. I'm always a little bit hesitant to use synthetic brushes. Some of them are really, really good. However, I always find that they split very, very easily because they're made from slightly cheaper materials than good old sable hair or anything like that. However, the Citadel brushes are fairly decent. Yeah, just make sure you got a nice tip to the brush. So, for instance, if that will focus, who knows, that is a pretty decent tip. There's no splits already in there or anything like that. There's a slight curve to it, which is always a bit of a shame. But yeah, as long as you've got a decent tip to your brush, you can get some really good fine looking bits of paint off it. So anyway, enough talk about paint and paintbrushes. Moving into this week's issue. First off, we are greeted by a story, and it's the First Strike. So, at the moment of their deaths, the souls of Stormcast Eternals are returned to the realm of heavens to be reforged. They are the perfect warriors, who can not only fight again and again for their cause, but they can also die and again for it too. So, obviously, this is all going to go looking through the kind of the burst of celestial lightning that is Stormcast Eternals. When they kind of get killed, their soul rushes back up to Azir, and they get reforged on the Anor of Apotheosis, Anvil of Apotheosis, once again, and then they can go back out into the realms and fight again with very few mishaps. However, every time they can be reforged, there is a slight chance of them cracking and being a little bit different on the return. So sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. It is what it is. So that page goes on for 2 pages. It's pretty decent. Definitely worth having a read through because it's a pretty decent little story. Mega Gargants involved in there. There are Stormcast Eternals. Everything that you want from a bit of fiction in the Warhammer Age of Sigmar universe. Then we move on. We get information to do with the realms and the champions of Shamon. So, utilising the tables to deepen backgrounds of your minis, you might want to add particular heroes, units or creatures in your collection to hail from Shamon, and you can roll these tables to add extra detail to their background, and you're just using D3. So if it's a normal 6-sided dice, if you roll a 1 or a 2, it counts as 1. If it's a 2 or a 3, then it would be the 2. If it's 3 or 4, then it's a 2. If it's a 5 and a 6, equals 3. Simple as. So, but yeah, you can get your hero origins. You can get your origins for the units themselves. You can have some creature origins as well. So, fairly decent, fairly good, and yeah, you'll add a bit of flesh to your army, which can be very, very handy at times. Then obviously, because it's a paint issue, we get a lot more information about painting and utilising different paints for different things. Obviously, because you now have a finer tipped brush, you can get a little bit more detail into your minis. So going back through your minis, if you're painting along with a magazine, you now have the opportunity to whip out this brush and utilise it for good, getting into the little tiny edge highlights and the little nooks and crannies and the little details and stuff like that you may have on your minis, and yeah, you can have a bit of fun with it. But otherwise, it's pretty decent, it's pretty handy, and should keep you going for a little while as well. Then it moves on, so it does teach you about how to utilise the paints. If you're following the painting guide and you're utilising the new paints, shading using a contrast paint, it can work. It's a little bit different. It does kind of work, however, shading, the way contrast paints is, don't use them on large items. If you're using them on large flat surfaces, it can look terrible. If you're using them on smaller areas, so for instance, small parts and pieces like that, so for instance, if you've got a skull, like so, utilising a contrast paint over that makes it stand out a lot better, makes it look a bit different. If you're using it over large flat surfaces, it has a chance of pooling up and kind of ruining the look of your mini. In all honesty, the way they have done the Gryph-hound down here, well, the Gryph Charger should I say, down here, that's large flat surfaces. Utilising Skeleton Horde over those large flat surfaces makes it look a bit patchy and a little bit rough. And yeah, a bit mottled, and I don't like this. I think it looks a bit rough and a bit ropey, and yeah, you could do far better. But you know, some of the way it works on certain minis does work out very nicely. So things like Zandire, you've got a bit down there, the Arch Revenant, even the Spirit of Durthu, them skulls hanging from those vines, using Skeleton Horde over those, bob on. Then we go back to the kind of the destruction models. So you've got your utilising things like Rune Lord Brass and Corn Red and such like over certain minis. Very nicely done, very well done. You can't go wrong with it. It works very nicely. Same with painting up your shields, utilising the Skeleton Horde and a few other bits and pieces. You can make your minis look really good. It doesn't actually say anything about the Bala Brown. Now the Bala Brown you can utilise however you want, in all honesty. You can use it for edge highlighting, you can use it for kind of just different kinds of leather straps or rope or anything like that. So for instance, the ropey bits on any of your grots or anything like that, it can work very nicely on there, in all honesty. But it is entirely up to you how you want to go about using it. Personally, I still say the Bala Brown on your Hobgrots will work fine. So it's this very similar colour to Hobgrot Hide, so you can't go wrong with it. And then you've got your different shields for your good old Cruel Boys. It's up to you if you want. I like the Corn Red shields. I like the red shields. I think they look pretty cool. You can go yellow, you can go black, you can go green, you can go blue, you can go any colour you want really. Entirely up to you, but all of them link to different Cruel Boy factions, or you can create your own, of course. And yeah, it's a way of telling them apart. This gives you an idea of how to utilise and kind of tone your shields, and get them looking pretty damn cool. It's not too bad. Obviously there are some paints that we may not have with these issues, may come later on, but it's entirely up to you how you want to go about doing it. But yeah, you can get some really nice looking kits out of them, and yeah, they work very well. So it's not too bad at all. And then we move on. We have our battle plan for this week. So utilising the shifting paths, you will have your battle going with your army lists. So you have obviously the Alliance of Order, using your Knight Arcanum, Lord Imperator and Gryph-hound, plus 5 Vindictors. And then your options are, you can have 6 Tree Gryph-hounds and 5 Tree Revenants, or you can have your 4 Praetors and Stormstrike Chariot. Going up against the Alliance of Destruction in the shape of the Fungoid Cave Shaman, Killer Boss with Stabgrot, Hobgrot Slitters and Gut Rippers, and then option 1 is 3 Man-Skewer Bolt Boys and the Marsh Crawler Slogoth, or you can have 20 Shooters and your Beast Skewer Killbow. Pretty decent armies. They're not too bad. I quite like both of them. I personally like the idea of utilising your good old option 2 for the Alliance of Destruction, and I would probably say go for option 1 for the Alliance of Order, because it's a little bit more fluid, a little bit quicker, and yeah, quite fun. So really, really good stuff. Obviously, the battle plan's dead simple. You're going to have fun with it, I'm absolutely sure with it, but really, really good stuff there. And then, finally, for next week's issue, and I believe it should be coming next week, although it is the end of the year, so it's that weird time between Christmas and New Year's, so there is always a chance for delivery dates to be absolutely shafted. We get Loon Smasher Fanatics, which are really, really cool, big, unwieldy item swinging lunatic grots, which are pretty damn cool. And then issue 46, we get our Sylvaneth Branch Witch, who's pretty damn cool, and another mini that's actually really, really unique and quite pretty damn good, and yeah, should be really good fun. But otherwise, that is it from me. I do want to wish you all a very, very Merry Christmas though. Obviously, going into the Christmas period, it's a busy time of year. By all means, chill out, paint your minis, have a bit of fun, make some time for yourself, enjoy your hobby. But otherwise, thank you very, very much for watching over the past 12 months. And yeah, we'll carry on going and enjoying this series. Happy times. But otherwise, as I say, Merry Christmas. And thank you for watching. And I'll see you next time. Bye bye now.